Honorable Alkali James Gay, born in Sintet village in Foni Jaro district. My profession was teaching. Initially, I started teaching. I went to college, Gambia College, and then to Mitimagai, where I graduated with a diploma in education. And I was specially prepared to teach in the high school. When I came back, I took over Farafenye Middle School as a headmaster of the school. Subsequently, I rise up. When I got into politics, I lost. I went back to Action Aid as an education officer, posted in Bansang, in charge of CRR and URR. And I built many schools around that area, including Garawol, Kulari, Koina. On the Wildy side, Same Pachonke, Gunjur Jeka, Barokunda, Barokanda Kase. There are other schools which I cannot remember now, but I happen to be the regional officer. Then subsequently I moved to Farafenye from Bansang. I took over that region also and was in charge of Fast School, Nyanga Banta, Buduk, and many other schools around that area. And from there, Badibu, Nyomi, Jokadu, Sareb Kerbuso, I built it, through my influence. I had meetings with the villagers because we were more rurally oriented building of schools where government couldn't access. This was my program, and I did that. And eventually I went into politics in Foni East constituency, from Buyam to Sintet, 3 districts were all merged together, and I was the first MP there. Subsequently, I was appointed as Parliamentary Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, where I rose as a minister in 1990, 11th of May. Sadauda appointed me as Minister of Information and Tourism.
How did it feel like growing up as a kid? What was your experience during colonial rule?
Well, actually, we were very lucky, and we were ready to learn. The issue is you must be ready to learn from the values of the elders. If I were not disciplined, I wouldn't have been selected as an MP of the area. But they saw some of these traits in me and gradually built up trust and confidence between me and my people. It all started that way. Just like the moral lessons we are going to learn. The young people of this country have a lot to learn from what happened, from the founding fathers of this country.
Take us through Gambia's independence. How did Gambia attain her independence, and what was it like for Gambians, to be an independent nation?
I think today we should reflect on the good side of what is going to happen in the next 2-3 days. It's a reflection for us to learn, recognize, accept, and value what's going to happen. These are things that I expect us to do.
Who were the founding fathers of Gambia's independence, and what can you say?
Sadauda himself, the party leader of the People's Progressive Party. I wasn't there when the party was formed. I later joined in as a young man. I was one of the youngest ministers of the time. But Sadauda, it was used to be called Provincial People's Party, which turned out later to be the People's Progressive Party. I became a member as a parliamentarian from Eastern Foni. I won the elections.
Gambia has witnessed great stability during South Dauda Karaba's regime. Until in 1981, there was an attempted coup by Kukoy Sambasanya.
Yeah.
Can you take us through some of the events that unfolded during that time?
1981 probably found me married. I was married when the boy took over. In fact, one early morning I heard over the radio that Kukoy, he's in fact called Dominic. He's from next door neighbor, from Wasadung. He's a citizen of Wasadung. When I heard it, I couldn't believe that. To me, it was a nightmare because there was nothing particularly happening that would have said that would warrant that takeover. I think it's a misadventure. Somebody just sitting down somewhere and thought of creating something. That's how I saw it. But later I realized I was at their home in Banjul. And I felt that this was not a story. It's a reality that we have to accept. I think my third son was Keba. Keba was born. Then my wife was pregnant. And opposite Angulsi, there used to be immigration office. And these Senegalese soldiers arrived at night. They were camped in that place. So early morning, we got up only to see them there with guns, everybody. And then we had the pow in the town. Then unfortunately somebody said to us, "Oh, Renenki Naka, is it Ka?" There was this popular man, Ka, was killed by Hagan around the church. And they left him there, covered with a blanket. So we all stood at the junction to watch what was going on. Unfortunately, some of my friends were involved who went there to see and also picking up dead bodies to take them to the hospital, including Chonacham. So when he came back in the evening, I asked him, "Where were you?" He said, "You didn't know what's happening?" I said, "No. They killed many people." I said, "Is that true?" He said, "Yes." And then he named that car. I said, "Yes, I heard about it. What happened?" He said, "We took his body to the death house." And among them was a young musician, a very smart young boy who was coming up, who was also caught and kept at the police station in a cell. I think he too eventually died in that cell because there was no air to breathe. I understand. I don't know who killed him, but that's the understanding. That's the story I had. So these are all great reflections of how misbehavior, uncalculated misbehavior can create. And the whole country was in pandemonium. Some people joined the bandwagon, and then 2-3 days later, I had Sanjali Bojang on the air. Alwuli, Bako, Senegal, Kabango, Tala, and then this motivated many young people to get up, to go and fight. And they gave up their life to fight. That's the first time I realized that emotions and patriotism can create problems too. It has its own problems. So all these young people, without thinking, just plunged into the river. And subsequently, I had the wife, Sadala's wife, over the radio. He's been seized and brought to the radio to talk. So these are some of the stories that I remember very well.
Okay, quite a touching story. I mean, events like this must have affected the Gambia at the time as a nation that just gained its independence. It must have affected the country economically and the stability, of course. How was the country able to pick up itself back?
We were moving in the right way. It happened that this thing really is a setback itself. The economy, people's attitudes, a lot of things change. When these things happen, there are a lot of drawbacks. And one of the drawbacks was the economy. The economy faltered along the line. Simple mistakes were made, which cost us a lot of things. I was not in government, but I know that a lot of problems. Schools were closed in the first place. We didn't go to school that week, and most schools were closed. So the academic life was also disturbed. Not only the economy, but even life generally in the community had gone down because people were afraid anything can happen. The Senegalese were going around, the soldiers moving about with their cars. So there's pandemonium in the village, in the community. So people are afraid, scared of life.
But the situation became calm after a while.
Yes, after a while, yes. Well, some other people were arrested. A lot of people were arrested and detained at depot. I remember quite a number of friends of mine, their parents were arrested and kept for those who facilitated the rebels to go against the government were caught. And subsequently taken to court. Some were even sentenced, I think.
Before coming to the 1994 coup, you've worked in the First Republic as a minister. How was it like? What was that experience for you?
It was beautiful. Like I said, it is something that we need to learn from, accept, and pay homage to the founding fathers for who they were and what they have done and what they stood for in this country. Probably you may have heard, if you go to our landed friend, he will tell you, this country was not thought to be an independent country. It is called The Birth of an Unprobable Nation by Buckley Rice. You may have heard it or read the book. But he will tell you, this country, people believe at that time, not the colonialists, believe that this country cannot go alone. We now need to march with Senegal to become a nation. But Sadauda and his founding fathers fought hard, love for country. They were determined that this country can be a country. And with the resources that were available, they decided to put themselves together, and a lot of sacrifice was made. People, we had foot soldiers, people were moving from Gunjur to Koina, talking to people. This is our country, let's come together. The sacrifice they made. These are moral lessons that we need to learn from. You know, Sadauda and his team were wonderful people. These were people who sacrificed their life for the interest of this country, for the interest of the common man. And we've seen that. Without him, we wouldn't have been a nation. So I'm proud to tell you that I was very happy to serve that government, the government of the day at the time under Sadauda, not as minister, but as parliamentary secretary, external affairs, which gave me opportunity to travel and meet other people elsewhere in the world. You know, his friendship with the world also created a lot of impetus for us to learn and see and know from other people who were experienced. I had that opportunity, yeah. And Sadauda himself was a great man. He was very humorous. He offered a lot of lessons, moral lessons, that you can learn from. I recalled when we were in Same, the people of Same were in the opposition. They were supporters of Sirip Diba. And when we arrived there, the alkali and others were all, they never prepared any chair for Sadauda. And then we subsequently met the alkali who said to us, "Oh, you will not have a meeting here. This village is all opposition." And Sadauda listened to him. He is very great. He listened to him. He didn't say anything. He said, "Oh, if you like, you put your votes into the river." Then we joined the car and left. And not only that, for me, I'm a Mandinka, well, partly Mandinka, partly Wolof, and I stood in a Jola constituency. You know, he never tolerated that difference. He built the bridge, the great divide on tribal line ethnicity. He built it. I can recall even at the interview, that time they offered me scholarship. Fafambai, you may have heard his name. He was the chairman of that committee, the selection committee. He told me, "Young man, why wouldn't you go and learn?" I said, "No, sir." But he didn't know that I had discussion with the old man, who asked me whether I was determined to be MP. I said, "Yes, I was determined." So at that interview, when he told me about scholarship, I said, "No, I'm not interested. I'm not interested." But then I wanted to become MP. That was what I saw at the time. And subsequently I pursued that. And I got it. It was not easy, but I got it, despite all the fight.
You were able to become MP.
Yes.
Now coming to the 1994 coup, the coup was staged by AFPRC members, and it was successful. How was this like, and what changes did this bring?
The Yaya coup, it took me by surprise. I was here, well, I knew about it a little bit. At night, somebody called me. One of the boys who was involved called me and said, "Don't go to office tomorrow morning." I said, "Is that so?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I talked to a few friends. They said, "No, contact your people." I called on OJ. Then he was but he used to be at a place they call Banyal. He never sleep. So I called him. I said, Maggie, when I said, I have gotten news that there is going to be a coup tomorrow. Munima, James, don't worry. This country is owned by Manikas. Nobody will coup here. I said, is that so? He said, yes. Early morning I left. On my way, just by Gambia School, I saw this military vehicle behind me. It was Langtombo. He stopped me. I stopped. He said, if you go to the office, you stay put. I said, okay, sir. Then I was going to Muslim High. I had a man from the constituency who was interested in getting a place for his son at the school there. So I decided to go through that way, Crab Island, and get to the school. He said, sir, if you go, please stay put. I said, okay. But then I said to my driver, I want to believe this story. He said, Munekada. I said, I got a call yesterday, Mole remind that I should stay put. But let's go, however, let's go. I sorted that boy out and I went to office. When I arrived at the office, I found the situation tense. State House, everybody, Kababajo, I remembered, was one of those people at the entrance. Well armed, to the teeth, with everything. Then I went straight to my place. As soon as I arrived, I received this intercom message. There was this intercom between us and the Inspector General of Police. He called me, he said, Mr. Minister, are you there? I said, yes, I've just arrived. He said, Meso, don't go anywhere. I said, what's happening? He said, we understand the soldiers are coming. They are at Denden Bridge. Don't go anywhere. I'll inform you what to do. 1 hour later, I called my permanent secretary. I said, so I'm not Luhelde, something is happening. He said, Minister, what's the problem? I said, no. They said these boys are coming. They are at the Denton Bridge. So we must get ready. 10 minutes later, after talking to the permanent secretary, the Inspector General of Police called me. He said, we are going to evacuate you. I said, evacuate me where? He said, to the Navy. I said, through what means? He said, no, ask your driver to take you there. Then when I arrived, I found Asan Diallo, who is now the current chief minister, at that place. So we boarded these Chinese boats and inside the river. We were there for 4 or 5 hours until 6 o'clock. We came back to the land. Then luckily I tried to get my way to escape. I said no, because at that time I was sure of myself that I didn't do anything wrong. So I said I'll go home. I asked the Navy man, the American guy, I said, can you help facilitate my going out? One of the Navy boys said, how do you leave this place? I said, I want to go through Wafinjago and get my way, maybe to Mandinaring, to escape the coup. He said, if you leave here, no. I said, 6 o'clock, there was this meeting. The army decided to meet. Yahya called for a meeting. And that's where they were until 8 o'clock. When the boys, they came back, Antuman Sao. I said, Antuman, what do you do? Can you help me to get the dinghy? The dinghy is a small boat to go to Wafinjago and get my way out. You want this man to kill me? I said, he said, I've already declared that you people are detained. I have already given your name, you and Hassan. I said, why did you do that? He said, but they asked me, and you are here. I told them you are here with me. He said, I cannot afford to do that now. I said, okay, we sat down there. They took us back to inside the river, in the boat, same boat, although I spent the night there. Saturday morning, that was Friday. Saturday morning, they tried to get the boat from inside the river. The anchor refused. So these people, the boys were struggling there to get the anchor off the boat so that we can come back to land. We were there until around 10, 11. And they succeeded. We finally got to the land. Then there was this Alaj Martin. I think you heard his name, who came to pick us up with a Land Rover, me and Hassan. He said, "Better I know where the ministers live." I said, "I don't know. I've never visited any minister. I don't know their home." "You know where Sarah Jaha lives?" I said, "No." "You don't know?" I said, "No, I don't know." "You don't know where OJ lives?" I said, "I don't know." I pretended not to. Of course I know them, but I'm not the one to direct him there. So he put us, me and Hassan, on board the small jeep. We took a nice drive from Banjul around that Bone Road to the main highway to Banjul. Eventually we arrived in Serakunda. The first place he took me to was OJ's home. It was later that I learned that OJ's wife is a relation. So he knew that home more than I do. So when we arrived there, we were on board the boat, myself and Hassan. We watched. He sent his boys to go up. Timlanchiko, that's where he is living, the story building. They came back and he said to me, "Do you know where Sarah Jaha lives?" I said, "You know this place more than me." "I don't know. I know he's in Pipeline, but I don't know his compound." He wanted to slap me. I said, "If you slap me, I'll pay back." We went to OJ's place. You never did anything to him. Then when we arrived, they said OJ had left. He didn't say what. Well, OJ knew. Somebody must have informed him that these people are coming. He left his house. There was nobody in the home. Then he took us to Sarah. By the time we arrived at Sarah, Sarah also had left. You know? And this is how we were arrested and taken to NIA office. I stayed there for 5, 6, 7 days on the floor. I had 3 more so, waramba and other things. So I didn't mind much. It was on the floor. Then subsequently they said, "No, from NIA you are going to Army office." The Army command. That's where I stayed with Hassan, near fisheries there. There where I was arrested. I kept for 1 week almost. But subsequently we had that my colleagues that who were arrested were brought back to NIA office. So that's where we were until subsequently they came back and said Jame was to visit us. So I was happy that he was coming. Because I know him, he knows me. I was expecting empathy from him, that he would know that I'm from Fonyi. So, but that never happened. He never cared. So subsequently he gave orders that we must be moved to NIA. The following morning they picked me up and took me to the group. That's where by the time we arrived there, they had provided mattresses, the smaller ones. So I was given one. That's where I stayed for the rest of my detention. And subsequently, we were fairly treated, but not humanly though. And the boys were coming in. Sana was coming in and out with threats.
Where was Sadauda then?
Sadauda had already left with the boat. Okay. Now, when we were in the boat, Sadauda was also in the American boat that arrived. There was supposed to be a training program. Okay. And that training program, the facilitators were there, the Navy guys who were supposed to train the Army. They had already left the port. They were somewhere in Barra, away along the long side, you know. And then subsequently, this boy was in the air, Singate. He was talking to Sadauda, telling them, "Get back to the barracks. We'll sort it. If you have problems, we'll sit down and talk about it." But then they were already motivated into power, you know. The language he was talking to was not palatable at all. He and Sadauda started debating, "No, we are not going there. Your government is corrupt, you're this and this."
What do you think must have been their reason to stage this coup?
Well, there were many reasons. Well, I think there were internal problems as well in the army. Not only outside, but in the army, there were problems. Problems of sacking, problems of discontentment, problems of the allowances. They said we are not paid those who went to Liberia. In fact, that brought about the demonstration, that they wanted their money. They were not paid. So this motivated them to come out and demonstrate. And the demonstration eventually led to a coup, you know.
So after the coup, the president, the chairman of the AFPRC, Yahya Jammeh, took over power. What changed in the system of government and the lives of Gambians? What really changed after he took over?
Well, there was no change because people were used to freedom, and that freedom has been seized by him. There was no freedom during Yahya's time. Everything is coercion. We have to do what they said. This constitution was suspended in the first place. Rights were seized. By suspending the constitution, nobody had a right. It was he and his decrees. He promulgated a lot of decrees, and those decrees were the laws. You know, even me, we had to sign an undertaking, and we were detained. Soldiers were in my house here. They stayed with me. I was giving them food. That's my wife. I was providing everything for them. And that's what happened. For almost weeks, soldiers were with me here. Even if I go to toilet, they would have to come and guide me inside my own house. So it wasn't easy. Life was, even to get into my home. That's why your father refused to come, because he thought people will identify when they asked for signatures. They brought a book here. Your father was here, you know, but he thought that they are going to register his name. So that's how he left me. You know? It was not his choice.
You've witnessed a part of the First Republic, you've witnessed the Second Republic, and now we are in the Third Republic.
Okay.
In 2016, backed by a coalition, Adam Barrow won to become president. What do you have to say about this?
Well, as I said, the founding fathers had built this country, and collectively, all of us together, we need to build on those values. The values of trust, sacrifice, love for one's country. I think these are things, these are the tenets that are there, and we need to build on those. A lot of lessons have to be learned, and the young generation will have to learn a lot more. To sacrifice for your country, to love your country, to be patriotic, friendship with the world. As I said, there was the bridge between the Great Divide. What was the Great Divide at that time? In Sadauda's cabinet, you had the Fula, the Jola, the Madinka. Everybody was represented. All the ethnic groups were represented. We had this. You had the Mandinka minister, Jola minister. Kutusanyang was a Jola. I'm from Fonyi. I was representing people of Fonyi. So there was this great divide. And tribalism was not the order of the day. That was killed, you know. So some of these features are coming up now. It's a big moral lesson for us to learn from that story.
Just before we conclude, if you think there is any changes that we need to do as a people, as a nation, from independence to now?
Speculations are that we need security reform. Democracy too needs to be looked at. What do we mean by democracy? The educational system has to be looked at. I mean, to bring quality into some of these things. Civic education probably needs to be looked at also at the level of the schools. And not only recognizing who our great founder members were, who they were, and what they stood for, but collectively we need to look at these areas. I think these are key areas that we need to look at. How best we can mobilize our resources. Forget about I think the political differences can only come about through the party's ideology or programs that parties offer through their manifestos. I think it stops there. But taking the tribal aspect of everything is, in my view, I hope we look forward to a big change. I'm very optimistic that we'll achieve something by the end of the 5 years. We welcome this change. But the Gambia we stand for, the Gambia we voted for has to be looked at.
mbokk yi ñu ngi waxtaan ak jigéen ñi benn tey léegi ñu ngi nii Brikama Area Council si Brikama Area Council ñu ngi nii fii di nemmeeku seen lady councilor yi ñu represent various parties waaye loolu taxu ñoo jóg lu ñu tax a jóg mooy dañu bëgg a seet jigéen ñi ñu ne Gambia dañoo celebrate independence du yàgga tuuti dinañ dugg ci celebration independence so dañ bëgg a xam jigéeni Gambia fan lañ toolu suñ ne independence te pare ndaa jar na jigéeni Gambia yi celebrate independence kon duñ def dara dinañ dalal suñ gan bi mu wax ñu turam ak moom fan la bàyyi ko councilor la ci ban ward jërëjëf.
waa asalaamaaleykum maa ngi nuyu askan bi di nuyu présidenta bi comme man maa ngi tudda honorable Fatou Jallow councilor Kunkujang Keteya Ward di liggéey fii ci Brikama Area Council.
madame Fatou Jallow ñu ne dañoo celebrate independence Gambia am na independence li ñu bëgg a seet rek mooy ndax jigéeni Gambia jar na pour mu celebrate independence.
waaw jërëjëf kontaan naa torop Yaasin waaw jërëjëf kontaan naa torop ci làcce bi parce que independent dara la lu nga xam ne comme programme la bi nga xam ne ñun dañ ko war a cëral parce que independent si boobu kaalaama nasaraan la waaye soo ñëwee si kaalaama olof mooy ne bés buñ amee suñ boppa si loxo tubaab yi parce que maa ngi ko dégga suñ maam yi di wax ne time boobu tubaab yi ñoo ñu amee woon waaye bu kii nekkoon fii président Jawara mu nekk fii ak tubaab yi mu try mu xeex def kent lay kàttanam ba gis ne Gambia am na boppam soo danga gis ne Gambia am na boppam jógee nañ si rulini tubaab yi jógee nañ si yore tubaab yi ñu ngi amee suñ boppa léegi ñun ñoo mun a yore suñ boppa ñun ñoo mun a dundal suñ boppa ñoo mun a xelal suñ boppa naka la réew mi di doxee ak naka la ñoo dundee si Gambia bi naka la ñoo mun a dëkkee si biir Gambia bi fekk tubaab yi condition ñu forcé wul ñu si ñoom si seen coobere kon loolu lu am solo la pour nit ñi di ko tiitaroo di ko ndamoo pour suñ xale ñu nga xam ne ñu ngi juddu léegi ñu war a xam njëriñu independent bi lu tax independent am solo si Gambia bi loolu suñ ko celebrate tut dangay gis ne xale yu juddoo léegi ñu xamul lu tax independent ñëw duñ ko xam.
li nga wax ni am na solo waaye dama bëgg a seet si angul bi nii soo ne am sa boppa ma war koo maagal fekk am na li ma ndamoo loolu mooy lan jigéeni Gambie lañ la ñoo ndamoo ak si am sa boppa.
waaw jigéen ñi soo gisee time boobu balaa independent ñëw slave trade amoon na dañ daan jël suñ xale góor yi suñ góor yi dëgër yi yóbbu leen soo dangaa gis ne pour jigéen yu bari pour ñu sëy problème la te dangaa gis ne problème su amee wala xeex su amee jigéen yi ñoo dee gën a soona because ñun ñoo vulnerable soo demee ba nga am sa boppa mun a yore sa boppa loolu daf laa dimbale yow jigéen bi si lu bari because dangay gis ne yow si jigéen sa cër dinañ la ko mun a jox li nga war a am dinga ko mun a am kenn du la ko mun a xañ waaye su dee yow am na ku la contrôle dangay gis ne yow lu bari yow si li nga bugga doo ko mun a am parce que dangay doxee si kooku li mu bugga comme luñ dee wax rek nit su la abalee botam fu mu ko nee foofu ngay xool so moo tax nag independent bi dafa am solo si jigéen ñi pour ñu génn parce que ñun ñooy yaay yi ñun ñoo war a waxtaan ak suñ njaboot yi ñun ñoo war a xelal njaboot yi soo dangaa gis ne su ñoo génn di celebrate ñu suñ doom yi gis ne suma yaay si boppam mu ngi celebrate independent kon lii lu am solo la xale yëpp dinañ am dangaa gis xale yi ñuy ñëw sax ñu ne yaa lu tax ñuy celebrate independent xam nga loolu dafa yow jigéen bi yow mi am time ak sa doom mun nga koo explainal independent bi de xëy na fekkewu ma ko waaye dama dee dégga suma maam yi di wax ne independent soo gisee mu am si nguuri tubaab yi lañ nekkoon ñu sonal ñu toroxal ñu mënuñoo defal suñ boppa dara ñoom luñ bugga rek waaye am nañ président bi nga xam ne wala am nañ fii njiit bu nga xamoon kooku taxaw na xeex def lu nekk bañ am indépendant léegi am nañ suñ indépendant loolu mooy ne ñun ñoo am suñ boppa léegi ñoo amee suñ boppa ñoo yoree suñ boppa ñooy doxal suñu réew mi suñ boppa nekkul ne tubaab yi ñoo dicté soo dangaa gis ne loolu dafa baax pour jigéen yi xam ko ñuy xelal seen doom yi dafay tax affaire yi liggéey bi mu gën a yomba si ñun history bi mu gën a yomba bi ko xale yu bari dañ dee dégg independent waaye xamuñ naka la waaye ñun yaay yi especially ñun jigéen yi ñun ñoo war a dooleel celebration bi nga gis ne xale yu bari ñu mun a waxtaan ak suñ doom yi ñu xam independent parce que independent man dafa am maana torop dafa am solo because lu nga xam ne daf la jox freedom pour nga am sa boppa loolu danga ko war a ndamoo fu nekk.
gannaaw freedom bi ak gannaaw am sa boppa am na lu si rax te pare jigéen yi suñ ne wàlli économie wàlli développement jigéen yi lan la ñoo laajte pour ñoom tam ñu mun a moom seen bopp.
waa xam nga comme Gambia bi dañ dee wax women empowerment every time waaye women empowerment bi man dama gis ne loolu si gémmiñ bi rek la nekk because soo gisee jigéen ñi nekkul ne waañ bi rek mooy suñ place war nañ bokka si decision making war nañ bokka si fi nga xam ne foofu la ñooy dogee kaddu te dangaa gis ne am na problème yu bari nga xam ne yi jigéen ñi ñu ngi koo jànkuwante because amuñ ku lañ war a taxaw fuñ dee dogee ndigal jigéen yu bari wuñ fa soo jigéen moromam jigéen moo mun a xam luy problème moromam jigéen understand nga waaye dangaa gis ne jigéen ñi seen problème yi ñu bari ñu ngi laag because amuñ representation soo demee si néegi député yi jigéen yi bari wuñ fa soo ñëwee si local government bi jigéen yi bari wuñ fa te local government bi mooy grassroots ñun ñoo mun a waxtaan ak nit ñi directly because ñoom ñoo ñu teg foofu noonu soo mun nañoo waxtaan ak suñ moroom jigéen ñi ñu mun a xam lan mooy seen problème su ko defee ñu puus ko si kaw nga gis ñooñ tam ñu mun a dimbale jigéen ñi because definitely jigéen ñi dañ soxla ndimbal.
kon jigéen ñi suñ bariyee fu ñoo dogee kaddu loolu dina mun a dimbale jigéen ñi.
bu baax dina mun a dimbale jigéen ñi bu baax moo tax nag this time ñun ñu ngi ko bugg a emphasize moo tax man quota système bi dama buggoon mu am parce que soo gisee jigéen ñi xoolal aduna bi au West Africa au Africa fii jigéen ñi seen representation bi is very low.
mbaa ñu ngi respect quota système bi.
respect guñ ko loolu fooguma amagum na ñu ngi ko bugg a introduce waaye fooguma mu ngi in place as at now
waaye yow mi toog fii yow dañ la sànnil karta nga ñëw represent sa gox si council bi ok léegi ñu ngee ñëw dugga parliamentary pour te pare foofu lañ nekk di xee pour ñu am quota yow sa gox bu nga jógee constituency boobu noonu mbaa jigéen ñi ñu ngee taxaw pour génn pour nekk taxaw pour ñu gis ne nañ la sànni karta.
waaw man suma boor suma constituency jigéen yaa ngi génn because man sax bëggoon naa pour taxaw te am na jigéen yi ma dégg ñu ngi bugg a taxaw te man suma boppa dama dee advocate jigéen yi pour ñu génn suñ amul sax waaye ñu génn te xam naa suñ génnee sax dineen am man li ma bugg a wax rek mooy ne every time dañ dee dem si workshops pour empower jigéen ñi wala pour forcer jigéen ñi pour ñu participate si politics because xam nga Gambia lu ñu sonal dañ foog ne jigéen su participater in politics rek dafa nekk leneen because dañ foog ne jigéen su duggee politics dafa nekk fookat dafa nekk ku idol waaye loolu taxut jigéen soo déggee yaa ngi am position foog nga dugga si politics soo duggul si political position yi mënuloo koo jël foog nga dugga si politics gis nga dugga si politics ak def yéenay loolu sa personal life la soo nekkut e politicien sax soo buggee nekk fookat dangaa nekk fookat soo buggee nekk leneen danga koo nekk that is you.
léegi ñu ñëw fii nii ñu bari si jigéen ñi ñu ne bugga nañoo taxaw dinaa la wax ne dem naa ba si dex di boori wuli nañ la ne bugga naa taxaw waaye selection committee problème la yow jigéen bi ñu ngi laa ŋaaña ñu ngi seet ndaa am nga far ñu ngi seet ndaa am nga doom balaa ngaa sëy ñu ngi seet ndaa am nga jëkkër sax balaa ngaa génn pour am kaddu si dëkk bi lu bari lañ lim daal xëy na su ma ko bëggee lim sax man mi interview dinaa nekk ma ay represent waaye jigéen naka la ñoo wéccee xalaat boobu noonu si nit ñi pour nit ñi ñu mën a jëf a chance jigéen yi mën a taxaw parce que lii tax na jigéen yu bari ñu ngee dellu gannaaw because man su ma xamee ne am naa ay history te pare ñëpp a am history waaye loolu is something else yow as a political stooge lan nga mën a wax jigéen yi foofu.
waaw man li ma am pour wax jigéen ñi rek nañ understand ne nit ku nekk dafa am jaar-jaar boobu ak sa political career duñ benn te Gambia politics bi dafa nasty danga gis ne dañ lay teg lu nga xam ne defuloo ko man am na ñi ma taxawaloon bi ma nekkee kansulo am na ñi nga xam ne buñ doon ut kansulo dañ doon wax ne ñooñu dañ dee tuxtaay dañ dee naan sangara seyuñ but if you come to the electoral laws loolu nekku fa soo ñëwee si IEC luwaay pour nga mun a qualifier nga nekk ay candidate loolu nekku fa ñoom seen yoon nekkul ndax sey nga ndax seyuloo ñoom seen yoon nekkul ndax yow yaa ngi am far ndax amoon nga doom ndax amuloo doom ñoom lijante wuñ loolu luñ lijante yooyu ñu ngi fa sarta yooyu ñu ngi fa yow su dee qualified nga am nga sarta yooyu rek jeex na ñu IEC amul luwaa si yow waaye ñun doomi aadama neen ñun ñoo dee soxorante te ma wax la leena Gambia fii jigéen bu jooy moromam jigéen moo ko jooyloo loolu moo tax mënuñoo dem.
léegi lan la ñoo def kon si wàllum.
loolu foog ñu jóg ñu waxtaan ñu xelalante ñu mayalante xel ñun jigéen ñi ñu waxtaan ñu ni neen fran toog ñu def ko suñ diggante mooy ñu waxante dëgga jigéen ñi nañ bàyyi suñ moromi jigéen ñi ku jóg nañ ko jàppale buñ seet ne kii pati sangam la jógee kii pati sangam la jógee nañ gis ne jigéen la te xam nañ ne jigéen bi su demee suñu taxawalee fële suñ soxlay dinañ faju nañ ko jox waaye Fatou Jallow amul dara kii suñ ko defee député léegi dina dawal moto dina sol jes na duñ ko jox because of am nañ xoli fiiraange am nañ xoli iñaan bi duñ ko def but what can Fatou Jallow do Fatou Jallow lan la mun a defal Gambien yi yéen soo leen ko xañee place boobu yéen a ngi xañ jigéeni Gambien yi lu bari lu nga xam ne true Fatou Jallow lañ mun a am loolu duñ dee xalaat loolu soo moo tax women activistes yi ñu ngi si ko am ñu ngi waxtaan ñu ngi def workshops di waxtaan mbiri jigéen yi waaye li ma bugga si faana boobu mooy ne nañ ko extend ñu def ko si rajo yi ñu def ko si télévision yi saka télévision yi nga xam ne GRTS ak QTV ñi nga xam ne foofu Gambian si yëpp dañ ko dee seeta nañ ko def a continuous programme di waxtaan ak jigéen nañ understand buñ seet ne tey Fatou Jallow APRC la duñ ko sànnil wala Fatou Jallow UDP la duñ ko sànn déedéet nañ seet ne Fatou Jallow jigéen la te dafa taxaw pour dooleel jigéen yi pour baati jigéen yi ñu dégga ko tolof yu nekk si kaw jigéen yi ñoo ko mun a génne nañ fa def jigéen ñi waaye dangaa gis ne jigéen ñi suñ boppa suñ leen joxee place duñ ko nangu ñu ne suñ ko defee dañ maa saaga soo buggee nekk politicien dangaa jël saaga nga mbuboo ko dangaa jël xaste nga mbuboo ko dangaa jël blames nga mbuboo ko ndég bugga ngaa nekk politicien foog nga jël loolu.
waaye waruloo arrogant.
déedéet waruloo arrogant as a politicien because yow defuloo fa sa boppa nit ñoo la fa teg soo gisee lu nga xam ne dañ laa teg lu nekk danga koo muñ du yow position bi nga amee boobu la ñoo saaga xam nga bu doon nekkuma kansulo duñ ma saaga parce que ñu bari duñ ma xam waaye léegi public figure la ñi ma sànnilul sax ñu ngi ma teg bot so suñ ma saagee it's not me it's the position te position bi is not permanent political position yi yëpp du permanent même président dañ koo génne saka kansulo so ku nekk daal soo xasee ba decide ne dama nekk politicien number one danga am patient dangay tolerant dangay muñ dangay am muñ dangay am lifin suñ la saagee sa bul faale waaye meeg soo ne yow luñ la fa tegee parce que yaakaar buñ am si yow bañ teg la si place boobu defal loolu ba mu war te lu ñoo wax si yow trial bi buñ gis loolu si yow.
ñu bari tamit dañ dee complain ne man su ma bëggee taxaw awma xaalis ñu bari sa personal attitude nga nekk si gox mel ni yow Fatou Jallow Kunkujang bu nga nekk soo génnee bokkuloo benn kafo that's personal waaye soo génnee doo nuyu kenn léegi position jot na yaa ngi bëgg a nekk benn ak nit ñi boobu tam leneen la loo xam ne nit ñi dañ ko dee complain lu bari.
loolu dëgg la te gis nga doomi aadama bu nekk su nekkul place sax when it come to the reality su dee rek dëgg la ñoo wax yow nga nekk doomi aadama nekk nga jullit nekkuloo jullit waaye nag lu la war ñi nga dekkal jàmm mu nekk sa diggante ak ñoom ngeen salaamante dafa baax sa moromi doomi aadama sa waruloo ko romba te nuyuloo ko soo ko rombee salaamaaleykum na nga def jàmm bi nekk si diggante bi man ni ma amee suma place bi man dama doon liggéey balaa tey jot man dama ñëw awma sax 1 year si suma area bi may lacce compagnie yi man suma first week laa laajte xanaa compagnie amul fii compagnie jigéen ñi ñu ne ma ahankay am na ma ne leen dama bugg a dugga si compagnie parce que man ñëw naa man kenn la xaw ma fi kenn su ma interactut ak nit ñi duma xam kenn te su boobaa suma dëkkin dafay ñaaw man suma Sinthiou Alaaji rek maa ngi dëkk si ñetti ba ñeneenti compagnie te ñooñu yëpp is more than 200 jigéen te bu ma gisee ñun suñ highway boobu moto du dee dugga foofu nawet man maa jóg I was the only woman ki nga xam ne dama bokk ak 5 men dañ takka suñ digga dem di ut donation ba 12 1 si guddi ba ñoo wax suma jëkkër yow yaa ngi bàyyi sa jabar mu ngi wër ak góor yi ba 12 si guddi mu ne leen waaw man xam naa suma jabar liggéey la pare te xam naa ban façon nit la soo noonu laa deewee ba tey moto su tawee léegi sax moto mun na faa dugga soo position buñ jógee man nit ñi sax ñoo ñëw jënda guru ñu ne dañ bugga nga taxaw soo waaye suma fellow women ñu ne xay kii kañ la fi kii ku ñëw léegi waaye man mi ñëw léegi lu ma try pour indi développement si gox bi yow mi fa nekka 20 years defuloo ko soo duñ mën a em
kon dañ war a bàyyi iñaante
waaw dañ war a bàyyi iñaanante bi di bottom line is jigéen yi dañ dee soxoree seen morom jigéen yi moo tax duñ dem maa ngi oo jigéen yi yëpp independence celebration bi nañ génn ñu célébrer ko mu neex ñu won aduna bi yëpp ne ñun nuñ amee suñ boppa daf ñu neex te dinañ ko dooleel te dinañ meeg soo ne dafa nekk lu continuer te ñu ngee ñaan nguur gi mu jàppale jigéen yi bu mu nekk rek si wax waaye na nekk si jëfin nañ jox jigéen yi place yi political place yi ñun jigéen ñi nañ bàyyilante xel buñ xasante buñ ŋàññante buñ saagante buñ uññiwante nañ jàppalante pour meeg soo ne jigéen su taxawee ñu dooleel ko ba mu am place bi su ko deful lu ñoo oote jigéen ñi nañ jàppalante jigéen ñi lañ lii dafa nekk si gémmiñ bi waaye du musa am soo demee Uganda ak yeneen place yi jigéen ñi ñoo yoree réew mi xoolal Rwanda xeex bu amoon Rwanda dafa metti Rwanda yëpp a tas waaye gis nga jigéen ñi buñ mànkoo pare takka seen digga bi Rwanda léegi is one in Africa lu ko waral parce que jigéen ñi ñoo taxaw takka seen digga yi ñu ne dañoo meeg soo ne xeex bi Rwanda dafa stop te Rwanda dafa nekk dëkk bi nga xam ne aduna bi yëpp dina ko ñeex te am na jigéen luñ pare mu am Liberia di same thing buñ jógee di toroxal jigéen yi dañ am an association bi nga xam ne ñooñ yëpp dañ jóg takku su ñoo solu dañ am seen white solu ñoom yëpp white ñu dem fees ak nguur gi ne lii lañ soxla lii lañ bugga dañ bugga Liberia mu mel nii te def nañ ko nit ñi gis nañ ko bañ def female president in Liberia soo Gambia tam mun na koo def bu dee ubbi wante nañ seen xol yi bu dee buggante nañ rek te bugga jigéen yi am bugga dooleel jigéen bi mu nekk lu nga xam ne lu am la foog ñu ubbi wante suñ xel yi ñu muñalante ñu xejalante ñu jàppalante pour ñu gis ne lépp lu jigéen yi soxla si Gambia bi dinañ ko mën a am nañ jigéen ñu nga xam ne am nañ xam-xam bi am nañ pas-pas bi am nañ lu nekk lu nga xam ne jigéen soxla na ko pour am place bi am na ko waaye moromam jigéen ñi moo ko xañ ba mënut a am loolu lañ war a bàyyi di pull down syndrome of women dañ ko war a stop ñu génnee ko si Gambia bi pour Gambia bi mun a dem si kanam parce que fii am naa gom-gom bi ñun jigéen ñi suñ paree ñu jàppalante ñu pare pour Gambia bi dem dafa dem ba fuñ ko bugga kon nañ try ñu muñ lante ñu jàppalante ñun jigéen ñi parce que nguur bi suñu buggee dimbale waaye ñun suñ dimbalewu suñ boppa du dem foog ñu dimbale suñ boppa ñu xejalante ñu muñ lante nga gis affaire bi yomb kon maa ngi ñaan jigéen yëpp nañ leen génna ñu def celebration bi mu neex ñu xelal suñ doom yi jàngal suñ doom yi lu waral independent bi ak yëpp lu tax independent am kon maa ngi gërëm ñëpp di sant ñëpp di la wax jërëjëf Yaasin si interview bi
ndeto mo kaliru singatelde mboɗo baɗɓe saba bon dolla mo fololte min e PPP lo kaka political party wol kono jeeto nata saɗoɗa kayde ma jawla invite kede ne ñaato kon kote wotone sañde mo wade meɗen nam wotomo Gambia ala hawloɓe ñamane mbi manque kilunde kan tubabulo marlo kono Gambia fam ya fota fulalde banyu do hanen to banko ma fasum bankulate ka babara kada fo banko da men kada karo kara do lo fal fasum bankulate bar marro be nyame o tembolo fe on bega ka banyu ni janna jato nga tomolu ane masakunda o bega ta janna ni banko tomalo to abul ka me ko de franchise ye be de fray bo ka karro fay e kay jato nga tombo banda sna fo tolier chefole si yi mo fu le saba tombo way da ka fu jeetu banko tata wala jama do la patio ka bra wulta nga mi ko mo ki silo do mentilend kan mo be marla o tombo ya yende fen kalam da jeetu wol kren do dunya da patio ko no ka PPP lo 1960 in our universal adult suffrage yo dinne wol mo yinde ka sabodi mon la si nyato ko tombo wol mo carte fay folot 1960 bara man siya siran tanding fulada siran ko do damalom so kabre carte fay ta banda PPP men so ya ta fo sira dan but not a safe wol la dan to kam parce que no ngama sekunda maro tembol but tuabulu and many alon ko be janga di mal independence school yine funding safe wol to ko nali ni dinul tom mon kata man sekunda de sai fonso to ko e bolde nalbulu ad mom yalon ko ad bande o bakade rawno handal meto bakade rawno wol ci banko samano nyadila so kabrin kato fayta banda sefol natale benke mo sey meto le tombo yewol la piri njale skirawon ka nata point as chief minister to gajibe manta ku sadora he cried foul ko te kenol kandu bi banko te moment atialon mo sembo bana karolla abe kenol nyarile mo ndube dame yewol to mo ma sekunda dila jama dame yetuje so angal be sa John Paul ay nyimi rako o to membe ke la foita futa Angleterre ni e kacha ini person ko wala keta 1961 keta Lancaster House in London so kabre kaja ke de jeto in our independent constitution odin ko sa ni murra dibite bankol si talantala e fiya demandé dans ce 4 fay 1962 on a to fay 1962 ndrongo 13 seater majorité ta don dolbulu sauda ya appoint as premier ay masakunda flota jeel 90 constitution ta da 1964 e ko bul Marlborough House ko rek London pour que indépendance ko kacha ci lumuta kana wonata ke 1964 to bo kono la u joto fo ndata ke mbul ko la ku bata arbo jam fa ba ye wala sidno Senghor ate nyina mira ko be tembe da man dros ke no independent ba Senegal be farle fulata ndurbe tem mais si ñi an wuri en ka fu ñoba ka bango kilot o tembo lo region worol be trobulu sintol tombo nga ki region worol la jewt wol ket adbe do fort o de agenda ba sarol ma so kabre be ita wol be folo e ko integration wol mi nga de nga du ñoko ak banko kilot sadolo ko te benno to lo tan fasu bogo lo jam o ko diwte kenola woto isi loose confederal system wala mu ñinde ka banko ka fu jobo bal ma sekunda ba tla fulande ni Sénégal ke président Gambie ke vice president ni Sénégal ke minister of finance ndros ke minister of law ko be sawi bura ko fo to dano kanto ka kam fa ko kam fo ani kulu ñane lodlo de ka kilomètre o fo ratiyar so last month meita wol min en tant cordial francisco wala cordial understanding tan tema kana so fitno la ni Sénégal tema bawo Gambie bankol tema fe ngo fe nakata fitno ko nakata tol ada Sénégal kar ada mo la Gambie attaque la foy dunni Sénégal ko la ada Sénégal fonde sonna mo le fitno wulde banda enen tol wali so don laro accept ngo ta so ko bi sayda daw nga dol be je men ko ima wakil bak be ini sila nyalam
alla tay ni kala oto la fam comme alla marburu ta alla silo kata malburu ko le akul be jele o ko ya ko do li sa fanya ani bidal na ta fana le mun ko ya ko le soto gambe ja yani gambe ba fan soto
ha kule ku ba folo nga men soto wol bunyin Senegal position on no yala ngo eastern forband dol be je imam wakil bak because ye yene mi da ko bonko be tembe damendo ntam fan sambono ba na fulo tije londo be kanyandi politiko fo mon lombak mon bo lo dunay bandala so ya mi ko te kenola ba sado do ya mi ra kenol be fon fe nima e kontano le maddo ko ba ni dun da ko be silo sodlal awul na take so on seta dam nga kata nga diamuta na molie kayte memu independence kayta dila ko e yende fo mar la nyaade mundi mun be kala is mun expect mun be nyanda kele tolye akere ne yayor karamol fer karamol be gambe ko tomo karamol tan sabani lulu abebe loro chefol be damen mo fon ko dun karabu da kara do ko buska musol fon bu kara karbu do feraj be ko som ko dana ke ko la ku ba dan dolo karo anta sanji fulal ka diamu ne mole kun na dindi musol inda dun karamotol bar faad manson ko bu ko la ku ba so kewul dum fana men be karamoto je na rakata ire council ni dun karamoto futal grade 4 standard 4 ici bonde yesama makad iboda district ko men wala ko karamojo ya belo pour ñen kamal mo ci silo sordo kadu karamodo for 1965 kata independence but niari nga february mo ñanta bol Angleterre pour kana adu february yankatra sumayre domande wala de 18 february yamuta wol dedo but mo nada na fo ka boje nada nga independence sort kita wala jaba
independence sotoda 1965 february 18
65 february 18
bari anata tubabu nata na som fal nata hal yasoto gambia la flag nata lo nyaadi le fo gambia lo ta fa yakata republic
1965 kabri independence soto ndor sonda ko ci tara in the commonwealth bara angalo le nyaado ko bembe jaw ila governor uska governor general sadawra uska prime minister ay tara ko o fara tamato duma mambe le fta jira pour referendum ke nga banko sam republic bara mambe ndasira 754 votes ne parti mol ko nga forcé pour que la republic ça donc hade ko ba kata fo mo kay ñini karbo adu ngani yo menti pour nga dinga referendum nga gaje stawno republic but ba mon manso adu solta menna 754 mankita wol alta forcé non o ñala narata conference bala o PPP la meeting bad men ko combo forba chef ya partout de sagna wonar di yabon tol dini wole adime men ko bo je ko nyato ga ngawto sawdo robo ngana forcé atla lo ko ka tama nyamema awto nyam to 1970 referendum ka korek ni siloto ko computer majority ko sor den saro ke president bis governor mbiyano ko saro parlement sigade mbiyano ko atata siril no angalo de jam as governor general pour marti daha fok tabe damendo akede wala jab so independence so yin ani sa intema akede bur sodi aku balti ba kana mo no kafta lebtano kafta ke silol dadano na hanbe dial de nyoko bak démocratie umu kulti melo ko sadore mo banno mbake ani mo la nyanto yin fa o koleta bul so nata wol be sabatende ko be tambe damalo ala tentu be mo ngani ta kete wala jama ala mawlo dum fanan na de ke sonel sonata bak ama fitna la mo ko ma motora fend do kulubali amantara marro fanan ko o de ngala tentu to bak
jawar la marlo kono kulu woke da comme ya fa nyamen akulu tal num abe tankundi mo ta fitna mo ta fem mo bara la marlo kono law marla watu karango la bundato ay mum kata kule keji anin seno la bundato anin finance anin jata ke nda fana na bundato alla administration o ni general
ha yaron to foro ko na mansa kunda na le tendo men na civil service me ngatarje o betara bag odo ni ñew fa moy na permanent sector ni ñew moy ben ya lon ko e be departmental ñaro ni ñew moy karabul ben ya lon ko tembolu ja na man ke bañul ma fo high school bolon ko amite school da malo but ga kata ka fa me kara mo fula sabalo re mi high school o tembo le mona ko de mere le tano dum fana na ma ke jan dem ma danim ban sang o ma ne health center fa wulta yer na health center lo ke je inde bankol ka ani dispensation lo sate ne wulta yer wala kere jeeto kada bono karola akada ba adu sedol karola o mu erel to melon ko nda masa kunda sornolo men si fro kunya tamon ay beta ay barako ko sarolo masa kunda le minister of agriculture because jaxal pachar project to wonde kay jeymo ani sapuñol to kay jeymo o wul lalto men yelon ko i tamada tamanyala wul damma si banko danyen nor but jadi ko be pare la wol fonko bina ko de da ta jet wala ta lo ba ni wonte ak dal la fa pareta pour que banko be dajini oto dammal oto faru da sita so yin kara sabor la ndeko kata balakata jet mo la yiro fa wata jet ba
ni nata balu wala karola bawo wato e ma jutu minu ya kala mota ko a sone yata le e sa firo ga kodo fa e kuma yata ani dala sil bulu be bule ka fen jamaala sota kono e sina no nyawoto fana wato soto ni kodo la barako ni anato la do ko ni kaka la kata ko ni
yalo même fo be kere même mun to la mirata mo la balu ka so dandie o kada man sekundal mira ko balde adu fewol daforo nata jele bawo masakunda bunda londe mi alon ko fewol nyanda sanna mene kabe price control yow londe ka fewol damuta ko tan amanya tamele nyi danka bunda ni fewol sa ni ko ba dalala ya sa manifesto be ne kaydo ke bele samana o department of sa jube en semaine e ko be damel lala ka muna muytala profit ma jene nyanda jelle sot la jeeto de sina dadil so muna bolu jasso data bak mano man tambi keben tan sawo do tembol man boto tulo fono ñoo fo belu soner ko do fota barako sot yo man ka comme sayen abe bulanjan tan men diata me ya wo fi wala
jawara man sakunda businessman do kela kaytul le samana al ya jibe ya sanyine la ya san da sita ne nyanta da su le sota jale na price o diata ma
la price ma yidde ka ko jang do tiedum fanam asanya wul betata nun do katabi sayna bon ning sama tar fafutata septembre mam ngal ko fi on ke le faband jawra si wuli anal minister of agriculture e kam middi fama sto atlanta sta yay bolon ko no ka sedo jubani mule kaja alle sedo be nyadil a betiatre ñina allimi refal be jelle soto tore ni ko ton kemeno misal fi nata sedna sa cabinet commandi ayta london world market half that estimate 50,000 ni ko ton kemeno as wultalul bon ayo samba ayo wafi in advance so ni wonata marketing board o kodo nyin say mbir be teewto sana wala profit on be soda teewto masa nata daji nata mbor mun de senegal ko kodak ka diele jenn sama yente balula men pour sama côté wala coopérative ka e ka fondi mo la di tiesa fo la krata ko de men soto jeto do stala karla ni sama chutara kolea nara fongo ko do ko buru le ka ya dila e seno ke no joro le so ne fatla se da it was very cheap bo temi dal hoto
ni nata baade mo la karola nyewol faran na karola na mo wato afaran so ne yata le aman kole ya ko sa jamano be nyame
yaro baade mo ya contrôle aman ke ko ya bolo momé ko bembe kere be bolo China bolo Angleterre be na nyawmo be sam o montran dolo wato nge mutale minister of agriculture wol mata fishery ye molo to the laichi do di ben the local people o si jemu tok ñew be sade banko la ka ben bina foran ni laichi do de ni hasan ñew wo fa la jan bar bi ñew ñe namu to jang do man den to ko le to be kata banko e baddal adu control ba tijet jemu da sia bari je ko be kere mon gol ka soto ke lo vraiment o sifal be de jewla karol o miste ko de bien ka be kere bi ndol nan mo soto wato ko adu dula ñew mo sen dolla coordinateur chef ñu sati jere bak bara bi aba nafa ba bar kunu ay nafa je ku dal man tara jaddu ka bija mol fon di nu fon men tara la e ka export akete bulu yirwa balde men be fisheries to karo ndaw watol
jawara la watu da ita mu ne tuje minister le muti bang for prime minister wala
no fulo minister bunda sabante wala mara that education that works and communications that health and labor
yo sa ila ni minister sabu isa fo mo le bilite benu je e ka tamande yu nyaade pour sa je bi do fana sa karam no
yalo minister of education for biraje te moment utumo tuwabo la marlol be jeto inata boje bon to kabrim futata jeeto nga tara dindewol men yalon ko e man keboya bak e ka karong maste bo men nato ko fu do banding pour ka dum so nie dum ko karabudo standard system de ro sota standard amanga grade system ha standard wol mu ñenti ibe karo bunda me ibe jeenul fay koyma ye exam pass jadi bita classe d'or wol mu dol standard a manque mass promotion me be kere ni ftar 6 jaar automatique bita 7 no dol ta manque o jabal e ka exam ta ya pass ni man pass ici banata fo standard 4 ye exam ñenta university high school mena gol grade better mena grade for la joto demandé si samba polytechnique wala bu ñing karabu do ka métier kara si samba jet men bita university ichur privé kata wala high school kata wala university men nan ko becce bolu kara na university bi karo dol do jabal utembol so ko na tama bakele ñing kamala technical school nga men lo wala bi GTT ayt kadi ko do ka becce lok mo sawlo kapinta lo yende men beg o do soro bajuri kombo jang o do samba abday fana kilime jet e mecho kala jet so dinen wate e mecho nole yende ben tabanda ni montano university stawno meche kala bodo tejet o ka education kala bol
health la karola
health o fana lopitan ba jaddamo lopitan do bansa kola health center bantal dulal
ba kali no ba kala ala loptane fula sato banko be lopitan fula yo dispensary nyolo ngi soro bako jolo natol improve ke upgrade kara health center la ra fula ra so si lande yo bir kama nyolo ngol furan ka fu yo ke upgrade wo jam kere wana nyolo yoro bawol dandelo lo wa as a minister dul taro woto uma fo fe feneto do bawol alelo fe dol tara gawlo fula saden ding bara lodula abe sati balle tem so go je choose as a kajmede so gawlo jeto pour mo base benno jeto baw dia sama sati ba do ba fo yento lo jeta do bani ak sati do yo so go ke jeto do ko jeto so be tam ga ke aussi fal gawlo ke jeto so mo la baru nya soneta ini biara do lolbe ke jëm fa ñola adu to tora ba so ko futema o health karot adu amira o karola mo le kontal ko bala so don la crossroad ila ministry sabanya
that works in communication do bina wato mi silot mantra gambe ko do jam kam ko boost track wala so sarin sa silande wala be jeeto ningo fonje ni sama nin ko jamaro sita mo sakunda ka sefo la force fondin kewlo ye fawl de ley silo yare pour mo tamano o silo bido kawol dada ndolle waka ba sila dada mo yirete ikay yuru so wol boy ya silo wutu ya suma ina do ko ina bero laka adat stage ga wala ko be ko bo bara kata fo farafej o silo wimpi company wala nata jang ko agalter ka silo dada yeto bari menke labanda men wol ka bero la ma lakan ka bambanne murtama no ko samatel kad bari bitu mano kaka mo sakunda men na role mano kaka wala ndam ga sojine ka fu ko atli siro da ka da jeto no a improve len sonda wala bar silap da fo kay yiro le boy ya suma ya suro wutu e bero kaka do wala ko wala fo mo ga so wala karo den birka ma sa ko road o mushi lo de men ko mo jamale do ko ka ko silata yeto ndollo sila ko to bonde yeto kada ma sa ka tawda woto mon kam men je onum kokoye tot no bol sotno men borna Angleterre in a local engineer sel ben ka deñu kokoye so ka wolte ka jur ka silo ka
ne kokoye so
xori pa
mboso fato mboso fato ni ko
gawla nka silo bil wol la fo saro na rabira hotel laban no so sakata ya wood la compagnie d'eau men na wul na senga wood islo yinde da bara mambang amambang ata nyala yi kudata na do ko ila plan rumen ko larin yedo do ko fanan ko masta ito waja so silo be ko sa silo men to wol fileros o do idrade mandata par yi meros ndolo be stand ndolo be kito
yalo mo ni mu elfati dindugol be noma silo le nyanta tarraji anen nyami yalo ko nin dinoli e fanan jato sala fi sinin sama ni tare ke banda ye ko tebe nyamen wayat na jawara sada dal mane man ka fara kala ado ku nya na tol min yalo kal mala minister tal ba ko to alla relation si wala do ku nya ta nyaadi le
it was excellent sada ro nyo so do mande du de ko mo le mi yalo ka so de abata ada bu yebar kumala abuko mo molundi atol wato bentro nga ka bulu man soro lunkiling saro re kila sa minister yi nyatle mo la ay kumo fo men ci sido balia andana mak wodan ke bay do ko to man dalil fo amanke sangi tanso me ya kejedo mo fula saba wala bodo do la man sekunda ko do o fana ye tume kule la e man so la de tudulo kanjedo e bote fay yele padu fa so padelo wala sheriff de bad ala pa so padelo CP ana sheriff CC PPA wala fa so padelo sadoro na me by 1 minute adu harbi am nana fo moy in dalilo wule yunu bondi jeto do il faut ka fo mo de nyindi nyina kere wala ganda because occasion up to point belu ko dal sadoro jo so anyo so mandia mo kende balom daji ko jinyata da so de ta fana ay bonko be ka di world ndolo kay muta ko ma diw ka silo yitande na nabe ko the relation was excellent better
during independence soto wala Gambia la fan soto alba jurala ala juralo ta nyaakata nyaadi ale mun dépense de fon nam tubabo lal ma koy bang ye fem fayal kambang anin ko ala juralo nan independence de la juralo akata nyaadi
wala fon kada bi alo banko ka orbo fenteje wala ma ko ro kada British governor wala bul fa ila man se ko namay ko ro kida botumo banko fo na flo te moment am bete ba ko ya to le ma ko kefe ngol organize kabra boto fo na ta taxi so dundi ka ferol drak man se ko na ta man nyato kana ko ke fay lu sango sanga men ke ka abako wara ba ko ya to elaborate ka jinde do man mi an ko sa handlo because sa ro fo is not wasteful am ke tiyad lat no ale so ma ko ro go so e ban se ko dabul je ka organize
biling fan soto nyen soto ra fo Gambia ya fan soto ko tubabul man na ina ko ya ku do lalka
kula ko hani mo soto tolbul comme menke da banku dolu kan ke le fewolta ke sama no manken dol ni la relation na de beta ba on tro commonwealth nan man boyet fewon fe diba ka c'est un consult ni ko fota jobo ni la badi etar je ila itola mo folo de meni ambassador na ta jadd yo so ni la ko jawlu nga tamanda beta london fana na ambassador je ben ni la ko jalbe tamam kam beta ka so fitna ku man na tar je atol ni Angleterre mo seconda ani banko ko tem in fact ndo mo seconda taman silo melon ko dal ntemal mo ko resigo kedo je ntol ni banko temo visa ko trajet o stade kabri ya jame coup d'attaque ni futa banko be Angleterre visa taje kara America visa taje
jamar wato visa
ndo mo so do ka de mbita futa airport yestam ye yini ka madame Chade wa ibela fa karje la ko karlo ko saje kile ko yew tambu yaddi o damal be jeto banko be teman to bongo nyamano the relation was excellent with everybody neighbors and in Europe so kabri ni kudata ko jama tinya baake ni banko ka mol ma mellong ni labon na ngalong bara be kere war rum malong sayna ngalong because na be je motal bara boro je woto malando wala fo you must you know for another coalition government for another side be wolo kono
sa mbawa to mo kebalte na mo be jang e be mol nyaato na alfalle moti nyanta na la kali bukule moti fa nen sa fa mol nyanta min karana Allah wolo pour salo kunu min kata anen bi sa yantol bi di no sa karano ni yemu advice so do generally pour karam bunto dino ani masakunda
yalo même kere mbi ndol na mo mi jito e ko poldi ko taman nyor nyam bi ndol mamere ko bongo chifro tembolo ci masakunda poldi ko taman do jam volo ñi ñone ari ñoo kallano ñi mass media ati yaro warta ba ko ba mo shela bonkono ay mira ku jawola are ko ati fojo asamba mo ko mo tojar dinde do safra ko be bul alfa le be nenna be mo jube le ya ko ye kanje wala le fa le kam fa mo ko tojar ku jaw palte politiko ko ku jawata politiko u sifal be ke ron man den tole adu alfa ni be suti al dollar e ka yina doa ni bote je ben be sele nor yeslo be wala yew noma be jenkere je fonso jenkere ya til bari kana bo kan e kana fonso silo na de kokor bara mantar kere mbi adu bento sila jeto wala mo ñoo sabota den du ñolo fitino banko kan man tankalom because dol be je sembo wota bak yo mo dum be la wuri jete kon da wuri carte que so je wuri de wolen sindi ibe bole jenter be kel jen misal be ñu na da ko mo kono seyte ñola wari yo kana jela mun to la di torot ni ala sindi mano fu ngani yo kino kilut wala mun to ngani yo alman nasu sima balo di jara kendela jara fana almale na kaja fo ben serol bonko jo men do beñinde wakila nga kilina nga ñomuta nga kal mon dula so dama ga gambet ndal fale wulu janna to faram be janna dewul be janna mu yar jan mon to la nga nya dulat ni sabo dawda di mon na gambia mon contact harba do be bo jamal bo be wulu dinkra ko balu jet isi do ale almale kayro sabata jang ale kisa fitno almale kambe wondir men be nyaato ga nyinola ala be ngani kete kilimunde banko do ko yen surtout en kisa en tanka wuro ci wuro fo
telo Muhammad Kulbali Bashi Koba Kunda yo ini mbara bake yemen fo abe wonyale tel bata jannin Gambia independence soro mbata o kalama kabira independence soro fana mbata kalama fo mento sai jannin Gambia independence soro tubabo le bi jang wala be mara lintel la nun jang wotumo on te skuloto ka empire de soto empire de akake regionally nkara ke jang sumanda uraro nkata sport ke mo be kana je mo jama kana o sawo sang fo independent fana nata kabiringa independent soto sawo sang ka independent anniversary celebration ke national and regionally nkake ning aketa tada ngoltara kombo ni nata silungu muta jam fana base jang sake ningake governor wala ka speak di commissioner wala ka speak di na speak di wo somanda uraro mbesita be governor commissioner compound ka parti ke molie ka domoro ke min so ka fa ka domoro ke ka min femol ke fanandi wo be ka keta independent kola wo kono kabiri wo keta independent wo keta sefol ka mansa be ke wo mansa be ka kele jan kabiri tubabol tilo independent fana akake mansa be ka ke sefol be ka ben banku doko region doto ñinan sina be dula doto jari wo be ka ke after before independent and after independent wo be ka ke so ngaje ka fo ko wotumo sefol anin tel sefol sahin bi fal talata bake katu wotumo masakunda hane jawara tilo ye sefol danku bakele kasun sefol wotumo ye independent ye siran lulle soto parliament sefol fawon le kaw tombo mo bi ka fo karilo nom ditel benta mo lulo mentu wala kate represent national parliament for independent after independent sefo do ke ministry post di sefo dola minister without portfolio uban bakke wakita minister without portfolio ko be kola fo independent fo falindiro keta jawara la tilo falinta sefo le representative to parliament membe kera nunga be ka mansa be ngoke ka kuol beke kuwo ku ka ken janni independent sefo ka wala ka ke ni bitala fana ni sefo bitala ni mo jamale kata dol ni la musul le kata katabi ke ila bal messengers code members alkal kuma dolu ni bele kata masabe ngoto ni masabe ngoke kambita ya muruna jam fanan regionally isake ndella jang sefu nan le bijang wutumo wol fanan kam masabe ngoke o sefu nano kabe jang tilkilim fula fanan kam be ngoke masabe ngoke regionally be même fala gouvernance addressing di o tuma do fam governor fam kana woto a fam kama be woto regionally so sang ni mansa be mbaketa for example naketa mansa konkole bare dosi ke jang regional region sefol men bi jang si wotuma sefu nan le bi jang isi beng wol fana ni bina ni mo jamal kana ini jiadula sefu na jiadula lo a jiyata damen serum ñina be jiyala wala to so fo jawratilo wo nata falin duwandi bari ka falin feren kabiri jawratilo bota kol be falinta sefol la taro parliament wo falinta man sabe on fam falinta so nga lon foten man sefol wotumo anim bi ko italata italata wotumo sefol man sakunda yela ko ta nyamen kabirin falindiro keta sefol la ko jita bag fo sayin be dame bitum malon sayin be kala nyame kata ko folo kabirin nyim falindiro keta wotumo tel mbika jo kende soto bar kabire ñim falindiro keta adama sita sayin ka jo kendo soto kato ke jo nun ni ke jo nun dal sitanna yaaje sayi kre jo dal simu wonna yalon falindiro keta le mba falal falindiro keta baake wotumo tel kan jo menna yo dobulle adama la siyo kono ayen dobulle nte ko ntemu alfalati jambi bankon kan jang ntemu alfalati kato ngafo e kabirin tubabol tilo jawra tilo fombe damen sai tili sabo nyimbe ngejele ibe yenyin kamenda ngaw foye bari nyantan ci yamaro fanandi katum be political to sai politico nim cin hakilo to ato pake akana ntemo tinya for example ndeni temu kotoni dole timbe mbe korda kono nte pati killing dol bi ya isi kuya ama nyango nya ni be pati mento tarje nte be diang baru akana na badi ya tinya ngawa mol nyanta wala katala akana na badi ya tinya katu ne kato fayda sai for example nte be pati o mento winter ite boyta well ni abikele ni kuyati bar nintenga tawo nya yo ite ata wala kuya nata adu ni o kuya sifa daketa akatale fasi fo ila alla dimba alfaun asikete mat tinyarote ni o keta dum atel mo fulole asabu so alin kana o jube politiko e be mento tati woto ntebe mento be woto barin kana kuya nkana kelo bula nyon tema kabirin patiol soro to jang nyim banku ngang PPP UP jahumpa UP wo mu peri njaleti PPP wo mu jawaraleti la PPP la banta lola ay nyim patio jahumpa tarje ay jesi fay tarje ay peri njay tarje PPP la banta lola kabiri woketa fayda kuya nati mol tema dol tema fo akete bulu kuya bati kuntuta ay dol kuntundi UP PPP wolle katu wolle han min benta family kilim fa ayete moltinya katu intebe nyinto wotu ngodu politiko dundin kutolom Gambia
mala independence to rek
janni nga independence soto PPP loda wo kono lom bitung ngaketa kuyati PPP santo the member provinces wolle be PPP supporting back a jamaa
ismo remember no jawara la koto because ni ajibe ni ko independent biri mo le independence mo jama ko jawara ay banko sama nyamen mo jama hansa hani kabi mo be jawara tentu kan wala
o ye mo be jawara tentula mba tentula le katu jawara le yakata fonga independent soto ana ku kenyol ana kafunyol ikonu Gambia te afansamba nola independent ikoni Senegal e confederation ke imanzon ikontel be independent fansu independent soto la yakata fonga independent soto adun kabiri nga independent soto fanan tora mangtadin bankun kan fente mo kan jang foni ya tinyaro ke de le luwa tinya luwa be malal bar ni mal luwa tinya femfe isilo jaye kumo jawo jawra mana akafu nyol ko nyolu ko ku tebalaje bari wati tambida moti hanyela wala jang ye president nani mbeddo kan jang wati hanyele te mitu killa fana yekuma ya criticize bari I mean jawara mot ka criticize bitungul to femfe mbika kela adun ngana banko tata nyama man tora soto kafo ha ni banko Gambia jang kafo ko ha ni tembulu man do moro soto man soto man ki soto banko ta kuol bitaka nyam kuol betata nyamale fo farendi do keta tora keta je Gambia yaaje jawara bori mo jele aketa because jawara fama meeting to aka mol advice ko nga kuol samba a nyama ni kutema ni man kutema bari ni kuke de kube malade kadu ni luwa be lori ni luwa tinya luwa be malale ndebe men fala ron ndal takila nyamen ni asita mbe nga taje nga president lammo ya be men fala kadu afana bidiya mola abe mo ya marlale so nayen ya mari menna nsi woke be ngata mo beta no man sitano eta ngata Allah moy wala be beta ala katu usually wala ka ke ngata mo be kala moy president ka mo le advice ka ya maro leti ala banko sambanyala so ne ayo ya maro mendi mfana nsakata nga o ya maro ngaje nga wol sabatindi ntebe men fola mo le drum nin tata woto nana men fo nga sabatindi ngaaje ka foko president ni men fo nga woke na banko si tenkun be tenkundinne ku tenma adun na be diamu la fanan abe wo fulale nyanta tarla nyamen abe wo fulale men be nyamen be diari ngaye katu men diata te wolom tel Gambia la ta nyaatoti wala be diara abe wala fanan yamare okela entebe men fala mo hani bi moli ko nga tari president koma politique te entebe anke politician ti bari bi atebe nyaato ala le akije ngati botaje ni men fara nata nga bula wo noma wala isaje banko si tenku bari ni ibe mansa kewbe ma ala mansa ala iba nanila ibe kuma ko ngol falama fana manyinya kana woke nte manke politician nte mo chef olete e kontel data politiko to bari si yamarodi because nte mo alfalet so mbe wala fala moliye nga tara koma nga kuliya ala le adinna ni ala ya bondi je ni men nata nso fana kuliya wolon atete forcé wuti ka forcé ben kuliya la nono wote je mbota wotole so nte alfaleti me yamaro min dila molla wolon wote sallallahu muhammad
mi wiyete honorable Mamadou Sellou Ba alkalo Basse mi gomi Bassen Naajo independence ko ɗum woni sa nani independence ko woni wawana hoorema hetta hoorema ɗo independence ɗon enen Gambia ɗo hay ko tubako ɓen UK ko ɓen ɗon wonno maw meɗen ɓen ɗon halkuno en British rule ɗum ɗo ɓenata British rule because handari on tuma ko tubakoɓe Angleterre men tan laamino Gambia aɗa waɗi asandari tan Banjul on tuma batos beddaji boyi koyne eto inde tubakoɓe tan ɓe jogino Wellington Street, Russell Street, Hagan Street, Denton Street, fof ko indeje tubakoɓe tan wayde ko kamɓe halkuno en sa daari kadi saari ha Makati hay ɓuuɗa Makati Island Division kon ɗon woni joni Central River Region on tuma ko Makati Island Division
ɗum fof ko ɗo e independence
ɗum fof ko ɗo e independence hakkunde heɓude independence puɗɗiɗen wadde change indeji seeɗa
ɗaɗi independence waɗgo mo célébré juuragol mo on sumati e joni honno ɗum woniri
on tuma ɗo e independence on it was hay ko empire day la nani empire day ko British rule hade ko empire day hay ko tubakoɓe laamino ɗi division ji fof hay Basse ɗo hade ko tubako wonno ɗo on tuma kala anduɗo Basse minen tawanoɓe ɗum ɗon hay tubakoɓe newi ga doole moƴƴa noon goninde heɓude independence Allah e Sir David Jawara eyi ɗon tuma ko noon Sir Dawda Jawara inneteno David Jawara ko David Jawara en Francis Small en Ibrahima Gaba Diawpa en Jesi Faye en woɓɓe ko ɓen ɗon waɗi payit heɓuɗen independence men ɗo sapinalli be jaren ɓe mawo meɗen ko ɓeɗo haɓani Gambia ha heɓuɗen independence
gila heɓuna independence honno ɗum woniri
hay gonga on tuma nde wonoɗen landade independence hay ɗum welano tubakoɓe ɓen ha ɓe wi Gambia wata naɓude hoore mum kono Allah e duwaji e wakkilare ɓe mawɓe ɓe min haali ɗo ɓe darike de ɓe darani ke Gambia moƴƴa noon ɓaydi eɗen andi on tuma ko waccuyagal wonno ɓe ari ɓe haɓike ɗum no ha joni wontani en independence so Allah ko independence on tuma watte noon célébré moƴƴa noon on tuma so tawi independence foti arde joma ɓengure ɗanata ɓengure ma no janga ma kala suka jango haray no welti aya maw maɗa ɓen immo ɗaɓɓanama coñci ɓe ɗaɓɓanama uniforme ji kesi honde yiɗa o aɗa laaɓi aɗa ɗumanni hay independence ɗum mawninte ha kono jondami independence on tigi haalama yaade antuma pan the whole Gambia fof waɗayno celebrate independence on the same day kono joni ɗum ko ittanoma jomaɓe galleji ɗin jomaɓe ɓe konguruji alkali ɓen mawɓe e sukaɓe fof haɗani no welti tawne ko independence ko ɗoen ɓe andano honɗum waɗi min independence tigi tigi par ce que yimɓe waɗanno ka sensitise honɗum woni independence tigi ɗo kay meɗe jarama fota te independence ɗum ɗo yo Allah tawnen duuɓi hewɗi Allah ɓeyda jaam wonɗo kala leydi ɗo ka finalli jaam e tenkere wonde ka leydi ɗo yo Allah tabitan en ɗum ɗon yo Allah ɓoyno e golle mon ɗen jefnali ɗan caméra man ma on min de meɗe weltani on ko bindar ɗon ɗo oɗon wakkili haajuji fof oɗon yaa te on meeɗa haaɓude hayso ɓe noddi on aɗa nangue no wuuli on darta ɗum ko ɗum woni exigence of the service